People think they know what it's like to live in the shadows. They think they know what it's like to hunt things most people only see in their nightmares, but they don't. They can't. You don't really understand until you've seen the things I've seen, until you've done the things I've done. I've spent years in the dark tracking creatures that most people think are myths. Cryptids, they call them. Monsters. But the truth is, not all of them are. Some of them were just trying to survive, and I killed them anyway. There was a time when I thought I was doing the right thing. I was following orders, neutralizing threats. That's what Nightwatch trained us to do. But the longer I stayed in this job, the more I started to see the cracks in the stories they told us. Not all of them were dangerous. Not all of them needed to die. That first time in Willow Creek, I saw them. I watched that family, those creatures just trying to live their lives. I had them in my sights and I let them go. They weren't a threat. Not to me, not to anyone. But Nightwatch, they didn't see it that way. I paid for that mistake later. There were other encounters, though, ones that didn't sit right with me, like the Wendigo in the Rockies. It was a creature of legend, something that was supposed to be pure evil. But when I tracked it down, cornered it, I saw the fear in its eyes. It was starving, desperate. It was just trying to survive like anything else out there. I killed it. That's what I was supposed to do. But as I stood over its body, I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a murderer. This job, it's taken its toll. It's hard to explain what it does to you, mentally, emotionally. After a while, you start to lose pieces of yourself. The nightmares never stop. The faces of the things you've killed, they come back every time you close your eyes. And the worst part, you start to wonder if you're the real monster. I tried to have relationships, I really did, but when you live in the shadows, when your life is built on secrets and death, it's hard to let anyone in. I'd come home pretending everything was normal. But how do you explain to someone that you spent the last week hunting something that shouldn't exist? That you pulled the trigger and ended a life because someone told you to? It got to the point where I didn't even try anymore. You can't build a life when you're haunted by things no one else will ever believe. And the truth is, I didn't deserve it anyway. There were so many creatures that didn't deserve to die. Some of them were dangerous, sure, but not all of them. The Mothman in West Virginia, people were scared of it, but it never hurt anyone. When I found it, it was just standing there watching me. I pulled the trigger anyway. I had a job to do. That's what I kept telling myself. But at some point, you have to wonder, when does the job become the excuse? There's a reason I live out here, away from people. I don't want them to see me like this. I don't want them to know what I've done. The truth is, I don't even know who I am anymore. Am I still that man who thought he was doing the right thing? Or am I just the killer they made me? Maybe I'm both. Maybe I'm neither. All I know is the weight of it never goes away. I don't know how much longer I can do this, but as long as Nightwatch calls, I'll keep going, because once you've stepped into the dark, there's no turning back. And I know one day it'll be the end of me. I've hunted a lot of things during my years with Nightwatch, creatures that most people don't even believe are real. But there's one encounter that still sticks with me, even after all these years. It wasn't just the creature itself, though it was terrifying. It was the way the whole thing went down. I was sent to the Rockies, middle of winter, deep snow, cold enough that the air felt like needles in your lungs. The locals had been finding bodies, half buried, mutilated beyond recognition. At first they thought it was a rogue bear or a wolf pack, but we knew better. Nightwatch had seen this pattern before. They sent me in because the description matched something we dealt with in the past, a Wendigo. You hear the stories growing up, an evil spirit born out of starvation and cannibalism, something that turns men into monsters. But I didn't believe in legends. I believed in survival. When I got there, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. That's the first thing you learn in this job. When nature goes silent, something else has taken over. Tracking it wasn't hard. The Wendigo left a trail of destruction. Trees snapped like twigs, carcasses of animals left frozen in the snow, half-eaten. But what I didn't expect was the smell. You don't forget it. It's like death, but sharper, like something's rotting from the inside out. And the deeper I went into the woods, the stronger it got. When I finally found it, the Wendigo was crouched over a deer carcass, gnawing at the bones like it hadn't eaten in weeks. It was thin, skeletal, its skin stretched tight over its bones. Hollow eyes, glowing faintly in the dark, sunken into its skull. It looked at me, and I swear for a split second I saw something human in those eyes, something desperate, hungry. But that didn't stop me. I did what I was sent to do. I put it down, fast. But after I pulled the trigger, standing over its body, something didn't feel right. This thing wasn't attacking anyone. It was just surviving, just like me. And in that moment, I wondered, how different are we really? How close am I to becoming what I've been hunting? The Chupacabra was one of the smaller creatures I ever hunted. It wasn't like the stories you hear, some monstrous beast tearing apart livestock. This one was different, smaller, almost fragile. I found it outside a small farming town in Texas. The locals had been losing goats, chickens, typical signs. Nightwatch sent me in with one order: take it out. When I tracked it down, it was dusk, the sun casting long shadows across the barren landscape. I spotted it near a cluster of rocks, crouched low, blood still dripping from its mouth. It was feeding on a goat, just like the report said, but as I got closer, I saw it wasn't the vicious predator they described. It was small, no bigger than a large dog with thin, bony limbs. Its skin was leathery and pale, stretched tight across its ribs. It didn't look like a killer. It looked desperate. I remember locking eyes with it. Those eyes, they weren't feral or crazed. They were scared, almost like it knew what was about to happen. For a split second, I hesitated. I knew it was just trying to survive, scavenging whatever it could find, but orders are orders. I raised my rifle and took the shot. It let out this short, sharp cry, and then it was over. I walked over to its body, and I knelt down, staring at the thing I'd just killed. It was light, too light, like it hadn't eaten in days. I could see its ribs poking through its thin skin. This wasn't a monster. It was starving. I wiped the blood from its face, and for a moment I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Regret. Killing it felt wrong. But that's the job, right? You follow the orders, no matter what it feels like afterward. Still, that night, when I went back to my motel, I couldn't get those eyes out of my head. I told myself it was just an animal, that I did what I had to do, but some part of me knew better. It wasn't dangerous. It was just trying to survive. And for that, I ended its life.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the shadows. If you found Jake's story compelling, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And as always, stay curious, because the truth is out there.